Hi guys, welcome back to Carpool Biology, and we still don't have any famous people, except for me, And today I am so tired. Okay, I am so tired because literally this child is the size of a cantaloupe now, and he's doing fucking back flips in my body, and I don't even know how that's possible. Listen, I'm a biologist, and what's happening now is that I'm having a realization that another organism, like a whole ass human, is inside of my body. And I'm like, how is it flipping? Like, where? Like, how? How is that happening? I don't know. I don't even know. But so I'm not sleeping. All of that was to say that I'm not sleeping at all. But today is my favorite chapter. It's my very favorite chapter, and I think it's going to be split up over 3 videos about the immune system. Yes, the immune system, so important. It protects your body against literally everything, or at least it tries to. Sometimes it's too good, and then you get things like allergies. Okay, so we're going to talk about the immune system, and yeah. I'm thinking about whether or not to tell y'all a joke. So as I'm like getting this set up and everything, I'm going to tell y'all a joke. So I'm sharing my screen. My husband came home yesterday and he said he had been listening to, we have Sirius satellite radio, and so he listens to the comedy channels like all the time. It's really funny. And he said that one of the comedians was talking about pregnancy and was talking about like having babies. And the comedian said, what's nuts is that you can just accidentally get pregnant. You can just happenstance get pregnant. You can just whoopsie and get pregnant. But if you want a shed, you have to put like a lot of work into that. And that is like so freaking true. Like seriously, I'm looking at guys, no, I'm not gonna show you my belly. That's weird. You're not my family. All right, people, just in a car, just all folded up and talking to nobody. All right, chapter 29 is about the immune system. I hope that you love it. I literally hope that you love it. Also, on Blackboard, there are resources for the immune system that I like provided y'all with. It literally was like a study guide that I made in a previous semester for my students for the immune system. Now, if you find something in there that we do not cover here, don't worry about it. It's not for you. But I think it would be useful for it to help you with studying because you do have an exam at the end of the week. So, what is the immune system? The immune system, it's a widespread collection of cells that defend the body against infections, cancerous cells, and foreign substances. Now, this is just the perfect picture for this particular slide because children are petri dishes, right? Kids who like go to daycare, kids who like go, are little kids in school and things, what happens to them all the time? They're sick constantly. They're just always sick. They're always sniffling. I swear to God, my baby sister is 10 years old, and it used to be worse, but even now, like every time I go and visit, I get sick because she's carrying around all these freaking germs. But as you grow and as you're developing, as your immune system is growing and developing, you will come into contact with pathogens that your body has seen before and will be able to fight off those pathogens much more easily. That's why you are not as sick as you were as an adult as you were when you were a kid, for instance. So in general, the immune system defends the body against pathogens. Pathogens are disease-causing agents. Okay, pathogens are disease-causing agents. We get sick. So why don't we get sick? Now, your immune system, I'm so sorry, I'm going to be moving around Guys, I'm going to be moving around this entire time because I'm very uncomfortable back here. But why don't we get sick? Your immune system is made up of a whole bunch of different immune system cells and different types of immune system cells. And do those cells have little like Rinz-Jones binoculars, and they're looking around and they're able to say, okay, this is good, this is good, this is good. There is a bacterial pathogen right there, go get it. No, instead, what's happening is that your immune system cells are relying on these antigens on the surface of cells. If your body makes those antigens, then your immune system says, okay, cool, I made that cell. That's cool, that's great. Cell, you're good to go. It passes through TSA. If you do not make that antigen, your immune system does not know the difference between a pollen grain that is causing your allergies or cat dander or whatever, and a viral pathogen that is looking to make you sick, okay? Now, the reason why we don't get sick as much as when we were children is because our immune systems are actually able to learn over time how to protect us and how to keep us safe. So white blood cells, we're going to talk a lot about these different classes of white blood cells. They've got diverse functions. This is going to be an important figure for you, okay? So I want you to like write down everything in this figure. Take a picture of everything in this figure. Go find it in your textbook. Take a picture of it here. Do whatever you need to do. So your first type of white blood cell, your first class of white blood cells is called a phagocyte. And your type of phagocyte is a macrophage, okay? Type of phagocyte is called a macrophage. Now, macrophages have a huge role in your immune system for many different reasons that we will talk about. But the role of a macrophage, I want you to think of Pac-Man, okay? Y'all are young, but you must know of Pac-Man, so I'm not even going to like humor this. If you don't know of Pac-Man, get yourself together and Google. Pac-Man goes around chomping things, okay? Macrophages engulf and destroy bacteria and debris. Write that down. Macrophages engulf and destroy bacteria and debris. So whether like you got a cut and there's debris from like, the branch that cut you, or whether that branch also had bacteria on it, so now it's entering your body. A macrophage would be able to get in there and just like clean it all up. And it does it by phagocytosis. So phagocytosis is where you basically just engulf a cell and then it breaks it down. It dismantles this cell as soon as it engulfs it. It's going to poke little holes into the membrane of that cell in order to render it non-functional, basically. So macrophages engulf and destroy bacteria and debris. Macrophages are a type of phagocyte. They're the only type of phagocyte that we will talk about in this class. Your next class of white blood cells are called lymphocytes. So you've got 3 different types of lymphocytes. These are very important. B cells and T cells are going to coordinate larger immune responses, meaning that unlike macrophages, which are just going to patrol and they see something that you didn't make, they're just going to engulf it and destroy it, engulf it and destroy it. B cells and T cells, they are going to go to work making, as soon as they find something that your body doesn't make, they're going to go to work making more B cells and T cells to kill off like larger infections, for instance. And they're also going to recruit macrophages into an area. So B cells and T cells are lymphocytes that coordinate a larger immune response. Natural killer cells are a little bit different. Natural killer cells, what does it sound like a natural killer cell is really good at? What does it sound like a natural killer cell is really good at? Killing cells. So a natural killer cell, its role is actually patrolling your own body's cells to see if your body's cells have become cancerous and dividing out of control, or if they have been infected. If they have been infected or if they're dividing out of control, your natural killer cells say, I'm so sorry, but for the good of the group, I've got to kill you. I've got to kill you because you're going to kill Jeremy. You're about to kill Madeline. Okay. That's caused problems. Your natural killer cells neutralize your own body's cells so that it doesn't spread throughout your body, so that an infection or a cancer doesn't spread throughout your body. Now, we have cancerous cells all the time. First of all, does cancer always mean like metastasizing cancer, malignant cancer? No. You can have benign cancer, benign tumors all the time that are growing. And we do. But the thing about it is that we have our immune system, and part of our immune system being these natural killer cells, it's going to sort of find them and neutralize them before they become like a lump that you can see, before you're even aware of it. And that happens all the time. So natural killer cells, B cells and T cells, they are lymphocytes. They're types of lymphocytes. B cells and T cells coordinate this larger immune response. Natural killer cells kill your own body's infected or cancerous cells. Then our last class of white blood cells that we will talk about are basophils. So for basophils, they are, so their whole role is that they trigger inflammation. And inflammation, which we'll talk about in a minute, is like your body's way of your cells signaling to your immune system that something is wrong. So your basophils, they are like utterly unhelpful in a lot of ways, because think of it like if you have allergies. If you have allergies to anything, you get all this inflammation, you start getting leaky because of all of this inflammation and all of this histamine that's being released by your basophils. So they're the assholes of your white blood cells. Think of basophils as the assholes of your immune system. But if there is a problem, like you have a cut and damage to a blood vessel, a basophil is passing by, it's going to release histamine, cause inflammation, cause that area to be swollen and tender and leaky. That way it triggers an immune response. Okay, it says, hey, immune system, I need other white blood cells to come over here because I'm a stupid basophil and I can't do anything other than make you feel like shit. All right, I made this for you. Guys, I made this for you. Okay, so class of white blood cells are phagocytes, and your example for that are macrophages. They are scavenger cells that engulf and destroy bacteria and debris. Macrophages are just like police officers, okay? Police officers, security guards, because some macrophages are going to wander, whether it's in a cop car or on a Segway, on a bike, on a motorcycle, on a horse, on foot, whatever. They wander throughout your body, throughout your circulatory and lymphatic system. Then some macrophages are going to stay in one place, like a security guard, okay? Some of them stay in one place, and that's so at like a lymph node, for instance, they stay at your lymph nodes in order to find infected cells or find bacteria, find viruses, find debris that are being taken to the lymph node. So it basically flushes it out. Okay, it's like guarding your lymph node. Then your lymphocytes, your examples are B cells and T cells. Let's first talk about B cells and T cells. B cells and T cells are going to coordinate a larger immune response to specific pathogens, okay? Coordinating the body's responses to specific pathogens, a larger immune response. So B cells and T cells are just like Army generals. They're just like Army generals. Okay, because is it just them that's out doing the thing? Is it just them out protecting something, defending something? No, it's not. They've got a whole like team. Okay, that's just like B cells and T cells. You've got one dude, your first B cell or T cell, who is made aware of a situation, and then they have to like coordinate this larger response, right? Then your natural killer cells, the role of your natural killer cells is to kill your own body's infected or cancerous cells. These are super specialized cells because would it be useful for most of your immune system to attack your own body's cells? No, 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 it wouldn't be useful at all. So you have this small subset of natural killer cells roaming around your body's cells saying, okay, are you good? Are you good? Are you good? Are you doing what you're supposed to be doing? And if they're not, okay, so natural killer cells, these are like a sniper, very like specifically trained. They have a specific skill set, trained to attack your own body's infected or cancerous cells. I hope that makes sense. I hope you like that example. All right, guys. So your lymphatic system is a lot like your circulatory system. Okay, so all of these green vessels, these are lymphatic vessels. Okay, lymph vessels. The lymphatic system, it collects fluid that leaks from blood vessels called your lymph. Now, first of all, what does this mean? Fluid that leaks from blood vessels. Well, which blood vessels are leaky? Which of your blood vessels in your circulatory system are leaky? Your capillaries. Your capillaries are leaky. You've got gases, nutrients, wastes coming in and leaving all the time. While they're coming in and leaving, you've got this fluid, plasma, that is leaving your capillaries as well, okay? It's just sort of moving into these interstitial spaces in between your cells. And it's just sort of sitting there. So your lymphatic system, the role of your lymphatic system is going to be to collect that fluid, bring it to lymph nodes, okay? All of these nodes that you see, got plenty over in your neck too, plenty in your groin, okay? Bring that fluid to a lymph node where at a lymph node, that lymph node and the cells that are in your lymph nodes remove bacteria, debris, and cancer cells. And then it takes that fluid and returns it back to the blood, returns it back to the circulatory system where it's just recirculated all the time. And this makes sense because if you think about one of the doctor shows, when they cut into somebody, is it like cutting into a brick? No, like your tissues are wet. Your tissues are wet. They're bathed in fluid. That's because fluid is escaping from your circulatory system. Fluid escapes, plasma, mostly water, escapes from your circulatory system and constantly what's also happening is that it's being picked up into the lymphatic vessels, transported to a lymph node where it's cleaned and returned to your bloodstream. All right, so lymph is the colorless fluid of the lymphatic system. Lymph capillaries absorb interstitial fluid, that's fluid bathing your body's cells, basically, okay? And deliver it to larger lymph vessels where they are. Okay, so lymph capillaries deliver lymph to larger lymph vessels. Lymph vessels are going to move to lymph nodes. Now, why is it important that you have, like, think about it, when you're sick, like you know you're sick, right? You've got like a swollen lymph node. You might have a couple of swollen lymph nodes. You might feel them in your armpit or something like that. Why is it important to have lymph nodes where you have your lymph nodes? All over your head, in your armpit, why in your groin? Why is that important? I mean, think about it. Your head, okay, you've got most of your major special senses in your head. you have most of the time when you're exposed to bacteria and things, it's either going to be through your respiratory system or through your digestive system. You're eating something that has bacteria all over it. Everything you eat has bacteria all over it. It doesn't matter how much you just cooked it. It's got bacteria all over it or inside of it. So you're introducing pathogens constantly at your face. So it makes sense that you're going to have major lymph nodes around your neck, okay, protecting these sort of internal organs. Also, in your armpits. Why is that important? Well, around your armpits, you've got your lungs. Around your armpits, you've got your heart. Around your armpits, you've got your thymus gland. You've got lots of important things. Also for females, you've got your mammary glands right around there, okay? So it's going to be important for preventing infections for you to have these well-placed lymph nodes. Same thing with your groin. Okay, whether we like it or not, this is a weird way to put it. And I'm entirely aware that this is a weird way to put it, but whether you're a male or a female, your groin has an opening to the external environment. Okay, it's like a hole to the inside of your body. Just like your mouth is a hole to the inside of your body, so is your urethra, so is your vagina. I mean, like, it just is, right? So also the fact that you've got all of your reproductive organs down here, it's important to keep that area protected. Okay. So lymph passes through lymph nodes, which remove foreign substances from the lymph. Each lymph node contains millions of lymphocytes. Now, your lymphocytes, what were examples of lymphocytes that we talked about? B cells, T cells, and natural killer cells. B cells, T cells, and natural killer cells are your lymphocytes. List all the cell types that participate in the body's defenses. Not all the cell types, but the ones that we're talking about, along with some of their functions. Macrophages engulf and destroy bacteria and debris. They're a type of phagocyte. Lymphocytes, B cells, and T cells coordinate this larger immune response. Natural killer cells are also a type of lymphocyte that are going to kill your own body's infected or cancerous cells. Then your damn basophils, the assholes of the white blood cells, they can't kill a single thing. They can't kill a single thing. They're like the watchdog. They're like, something's wrong, something's wrong, something's wrong. But they're not going to do anything about it ever. The only thing that they can do is release histamine in order to trigger an inflammatory response. That's going to bring these other players to the area so they can actually neutralize the pathogens. Okay. I'm tired. Oh, gee. Okay, guys, your immune system, you've got two subdivisions of your immune system. I hate that I'm tired because this is literally my favorite thing. And I wish we were in class for talking about the immune system because y'all have awesome questions. And if you do have questions, I would encourage you to please post them in the comments underneath the video. Okay, so first, your innate defenses. These are defenses you are born with. You do not have to do anything in order to trigger these innate defenses. They provide broad protection against any pathogen, okay? Broad protection against any pathogen. Now, okay, here's how I want you to remember this. Innate defenses. What does it mean for something to be innate? I have 3 border collies because I'm endless and I got them when have I told y'all this? I had all 3 of them by the time I was 20. I was in college. I was in college with 2 border collies, and then we had a failed foster, meaning that I just liked him too much, Cooper, and I just kept him. So I had all 3 by the time I was a senior in college, and I was 21 years old. And what are some innate behaviors that border collies have? What are some innate behaviors that border collies have? like herding, right? They're herding dogs. They are. Now, some like mine, you know, they've got these ticks. They've got these ticks, like they always want a job. They definitely always want a job. They're not so much herders. They're really good. Mine are just really good pet border collies, but they're born with some of these innate behaviors, like wanting a job. Some of them like herding. Some of them are really awful with herding. They can't not herd. So that's an innate defense. Did they have to be taught with sheep how to herd? No, no, that's something innate. Did you have to teach them? Did I have to teach Cooper how to go for a frisbee? No, like he just did it. He just did it. Innate defenses, you do not, for your immune system, you do not have to trigger. You don't have to do anything to make them work. They're always working. They're always there. They're always working. Then you have adaptive immunity, where your immune system cells recognize and remember specific pathogens. So that, like for example, if we were on campus right now, a lot of you would have already been sick already. And that's because you're living with people from around the country that you haven't been exposed to before. Everybody has these different strains of different bacteria and different variations of these different viruses that you have not been exposed to. So you do get sick more often than not when you like go to a new place, when you go and you're living on campus for the first time. But after a little while, every time you're exposed to strep throat, for instance, will you get strep throat? No, no. Every time you're exposed to strep throat, you will not get strep throat. God knows I would be dead by now with how disgusting all of my students are. No, I've probably, oh my God, I've probably been exposed to strep 150 times in a few years. Do you get sick every time? No, because if you're exposed to the same thing many times, your immune system is able to recognize that pathogen, remember how it killed that pathogen before, and then it's able to do it more quickly. So for instance, you might get like a swollen lymph nodes. What happens when you're not sick and you get swollen lymph nodes? You're like, oh my God, I'm about to be sick. I'm getting sick right now. But what's actually happening is that your body is filtering out pathogens before the pathogens actually had a chance to make you sick. So a ton of the times you might have swollen lymph nodes and you don't end up getting sick because your immune system just handled it for you. So like, just, yes, you're working so hard. All right, first, and this is what we're going to talk about for the rest of the video, today, we're going to talk about your innate defenses that are non-specific. They're always working for you. They do not protect you against specific pathogens. They protect you broadly against any pathogen. So your first innate defenses are going to be physical and chemical barriers. Physical and chemical barriers. So they form the first line of defense. And your biggest one, biggest one is just your skin. It's your skin. Unpunctured skin. So stop picking your face or your back or anything on your body, because you're literally making a gateway into your circulatory system. Stop that shit, please. Go get a Band-Aid, some Neosporin, just cover it for a couple days and it'll all be better. Got unpunctured skin, you're not introducing pathogens into your body. It's amazing. Isn't it amazing? So that's your first physical line of defense. And this is also why, like, if you have a burn, if you're a burn victim, are they placed in the general hospital population? No, they're placed in a burn unit. And in that burn unit, what's going to happen is that there are more restrictions. There are more restrictions on what people can come, what they have to wear when they come, what nurses and doctors are wearing when they come to like change your dressings and things like that. Because if you have like open wounds, that is going to be a direct line into your body, just like I talked about a second ago, right? So they have to protect you from that when you're missing a large swath of your skin. Mucus is another one. Okay, so for your mucus, it's basically going to trap pathogens, right? Trap pathogens, protect the surfaces where mucus is. So mucus is all over your stomach, all over your respiratory system, all over your digestive system. It's everywhere. Earwax, again, trapping pathogens. Tears. Okay, so tears, you have a few different types of tears, but the whole role of tears is that you're going to be flushing things out of your eye. Then stomach acid. Stomach acid is going to kill almost, if you have a good immune system, your immune system plus your stomach acid is going to kill basically every pathogen that comes in through your digestive system. Every typical pathogen. All right, so guys, I cover this in normal semesters, and it's got burning question right here because someone brought this up in a previous semester as a burning question. They said, you know, are like crying tears the same as like when your eye is watering, you know? It turns out you have 3 different types of tears. So first, you've got your basal tears. And your basal tears, this is like your base level of tears that are secreted into your eyeball to keep your eye refreshed and protected, okay? If you don't have your basal tears, then you've got dry eye. You have to supplement with like eye drops. And is that comfortable? Is that comfortable for people who have dry eye? No, it's so uncomfortable. So your basal tears, really, really important. Then you have reflex tears. Reflex tears are like when something, think an eyelash enters your eye. What's the first fucking thing that happens? What's the first thing that happens? I was regretting that F-bomb because I was like, why would you even put an F-bomb there about tears, Eden? Like, you just let that one slip, and so you can't use that F-bomb later. Like, why was that an F-bomb moment just now? I don't know, but my mouth is getting out of control. Okay, reflex tears, something enters your eye. What is the first thing that happens? The first thing that happens is that your eye starts watering, and it starts watering to literally flush out whatever has just entered your eyeball. Then you have your psychic tears. Poor Kim K. Okay, so your psychic tears, these are your emotional tears. And your emotional tears is when if you're crying because you're happy or because you're sad or because you're angry or because you're whatever. Your psychic tears are emotional tears. And the thing about it is that they're different from your reflex tears and your basal tears, chemically different. Your psychic tears, when you are emotional and you start crying, your brain releases endorphins into your tear ducts. And when you cry, those endorphins are like expressed. Okay, so have you ever heard, have a good cry, it'll make you feel better? Have you ever heard, have a good cry, it'll make you feel better? Everybody has, right? Everybody, like, does it? Yes. Sometimes you need a little nap afterwards, but yes, it typically will make you feel better because you're expressing those endorphins. Chemically different. All right, guys, your next innate responses are your resident microorganisms or your resident microbes. They're on the skin, in your gut, and elsewhere all throughout your body, and they help prevent pathogens from colonizing. So, if I live out in the country, husband, soon to be baby, 3 border collies. I live out in the country, and let's say that I love our little country home, but I would rather be in the square. I'd rather live in the square. So I asked William. He gets like those gigantic, what is it called? The load, Eden? What is it called? Wide load or something like that. Those wide load trucks that are like moving houses, okay? We are moving my house, and I say, okay, I'm gonna put my house on top of Ajax. I'm gonna put my house right where Ajax is. Could I do that? No, you couldn't do that. First of all, Ajax is already there. Also, zoning ordinances, hello. So you can't do it. Ajax is already there. That's just like your resident microbes. Your resident microbes are Ajax, and they're physically taking up space. They're feeding off of they're feeding off of your stuff, okay? Your food or your like skin that's sloughing off. They're feeding off of you, basically. They're not harming you in any way, but they're not harming you because you provide shelter and nourishment for them. So in turn, they take up space so that harmful bacteria harmful microorganisms cannot colonize there, okay? So resident microbes, they protect you from pathogens by taking up space. Antibiotics can decrease populations of our resident microbes. So when you take an antibiotic, is it just saying, hey, go after this E. coli that is causing this, go after this strep, go after this staph, go after whatever? No, you don't have antibiotics that are necessarily specific. A lot of them will kill lots of different types of bacteria. So when you take an antibiotic, you're also affecting your resident microbiome. That's why, like, if you're taking antibiotics, you should be eating well. You should be maybe taking a probiotic or something to restore those normal levels of your resident microorganisms. Then you've got your white blood cells. You have natural killer cells that destroy your own body's cancerous or infected cells. You've got macrophages that are going to consume. They are going to engulf and destroy bacteria and debris and promote fever. Then you've got your basophils that provoke inflammation, which is going to recruit other white blood cells to the area. Now, okay, all 3 of these are white blood cells involved in your innate responses. Which 2 are not in this list? Which 2 are not in this list? Your B cells and T cells are not in this list. Why are they not in this list? Because they're not involved in your innate defenses. They're not always active. They have to be activated in order to function. So they're part of your adaptive immune responses, which we'll talk about in another video. So macrophages, natural killer cells, basophils. Fever is another innate response. Fever, your body temperature, high body temperature indirectly counters microbial growth. Basically how this is going to happen is, all right, when I'm like rearranging myself, I'm sorry, I'm very uncomfortable. I wish I had I should do that, but I would look like a freak. Got this pregnancy pillow, makes me sit up straight. It's technically for sleeping, but I just like wrap it around my whole body, so it's like a tube around me, and then I'm just like all upright and everything. I should do that. All right, high body temperature. When you have pathogens, the pathogens that are colonizing your body thrive at your normal body temperature. So when you increase that normal body temperature, what's going to happen is that these bacteria, these pathogens, they're going to become inactive. They're going to be struggling to stay alive just because of this high internal body temperature. Now, how do you feel when you have a fever? You feel like shit. You feel shitty. That's because your own body's cells hates this this increased internal body temperature. However, your immune system cells function fine, perfectly adequately at your normal body temperature, but they perform optimally when you have a fever. So you spike a fever, that is going to sort of inactivate bacteria. It's not necessarily going to kill them, but it's going to make them slower to reproduce, slower to spread. Then your white blood cells are going to be like, and they are going for these pathogens. They're going after it when your body has a fever. All right. Inflammation. We're going to talk about your basophils and how they're involved in this inflammatory response in your body. So basophils release a chemical called histamine, which causes inflammation. So let's say that you get a scratch. It's just a scratch, and you know it's just a scratch because there's no blood. You haven't broken a blood vessel, right? You've just been poked with something. Has it like broken through layers of skin? Yes. Is that necessarily a big deal? No, it's really not, right? But is that branch sterile? No. So when that branch cuts you or scrapes you, you're introducing bacteria and debris into those skin layers. Now, when your basophils are going around and they sense that you have some sort of tissue damage, like to your skin, they're going to stop in that area and they're going to say, oh my gosh, we have pathogens, oh my gosh. And they're going to release histamine, okay? They release histamine. These little dots are histamine. Then histamine is going to make your blood vessels permeable, meaning they're going to make the gaps in your blood vessels bigger so that cells can escape, okay? So if you look at this, you're in a capillary, you have tiny spaces in between cells so that like dissolved gases, nutrients, wastes can move in and out, but can whole cells move into and out of your capillaries? No. So histamine takes it from these tiny spaces into these bigger spaces in between cells. It makes these blood vessels permeable so that other cells, white blood cells, are able to squeeze into those gaps to move into your tissues. Things like macrophages, okay? Macrophages move into that area thanks to the histamine, and they're going to engulf and destroy bacteria and debris. But also what has happened, when you make it permeable, you have cells that are able to escape, but you also have more fluid that's escaping from your blood vessel. This is not a big deal, but what happens is that the area is going to swell, it's going to get red, maybe tender, like it doesn't feel good, right? Think about when you have inflammation, it doesn't feel great. That's because of all of this built up fluid since your histamine dilated your blood vessels. Then after a little while, once your macrophages have gone about engulfing and destroying bacteria and debris, they're cleaning up this mess, what eventually happens is that your blood vessels will close again, okay? They'll constrict back down to their normal size. That fluid will dissipate, and so that area isn't as warm from the warm fluid from your circulatory system. It's not as tender. It doesn't hurt, okay? So inflammation recruits immune components, helps clear debris, creates an environment that's hostile to microbes. Okay, that's how your basophils work to help your body. Did they actually go about killing anything in this area? No, but they released histamine that swelled, made it warmer, a hostile environment, also recruited other white blood cell components. Okay, so what are your innate defenses? What are some of the innate defenses that you These are non-specific defenses. They protect you broadly against any pathogen. Protect you broadly against any pathogen. All right, skin, mucus, tears, fever, inflammation, your normal microbiome. Now, your normal microbiome, these are your resident microorganisms. And what is so freaking cool, okay, there was a study done a couple of years ago that said, okay, when does a baby get their microbiome, get their first microbiome? Because it changes over your life, right? But where do they get their first microbiome? Now, they did studies of birth, okay, at birth, and they tested the baby's microbiome immediately after birth. And they tested different types of birth, right? Vaginal deliveries, the baby had a microbiome, a gut microbiome, identical to the mother, right? That makes sense because you're literally coming out of her. But for a C-section or a cesarean section, the babies had an identical microbiome to the nurses or the doctor that pulled them out. What? That pulled them out, not the mothers. So basically, you have a nurse, okay, you've got a doctor literally cutting you open from like fucking hip to hip, ripping, okay, they cut your first layer of skin and then they rip you underneath. They literally rip your uterus open, and that's because it'll heal better if you rip it as opposed to just like perfectly slicing it. So that's crazy, and that makes me want to throw up and die immediately. But so then you have one of these people, the doctor or the nurse, pull the baby out of your uterus, out of your exposed guts. And while he, she, whoever is touching the baby with gloved hands, obviously, you have bacteria literally rushing her body to whatever she touches. That happens with whatever you touch all the time. That's why it's so important right now for you to be washing your hands. Wash your hands just all the time, because whatever you touch, you have bacteria coming onto you and bacteria moving from you to whatever you're touching, okay? It's happening all the time. Isn't that insane? What? Okay, then macrophages. You've got lots of different types of innate defenses. All right, guys, we are stopping right there. I hope you enjoyed that first part of the immune system lecture, and I'll see you